Ladies and gentlemen,
hello!
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is entering into its 17th season, which is absolutely crazy, but it's something that's had me thinking a lot, and I personally feel like the show has just ran its course. Now, I love it. I'm a diehard fan. For those of you who've never seen any of my videos, I'm a diehard fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. When I say I have seen every episode north of 7 times, I'm not kidding. I could quote majority of the show. I love it to my core. But that's also why I say I feel like it's a good thing sometimes to just let things rest when they're on good terms. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has had an absolutely generational, incredible run. But you could see the quality start to diminish, and you could see some cracks in the production in general through behind the scenes things, through even the episodes that we've gotten, especially lately. And it's just one of those things where you have to ask, when is enough? There's a lot of things that the show has just done differently since its early days, and I'd say It's Always Sunny's peak was really seasons 1 through maybe 8, definitely 1 to 7, but I feel like you could argue 1 through 8 or 1 through 9, somewhere in there. That was like the show's real peak, and then everything since, I forget what it was, but I'm pretty sure that's when some of the writing crew fully changed in the show, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, because I know they had co-writers along with Rob McElhenney, Charlie Day, and Glenn Howerton. I know there were co-writers in the rooms with them along the way, but I feel like after probably season 8-ish or so, the writing just changed. And not that it's bad, because quite frankly, anything with the It's Always Sunny gang, like anything with the original gang, is still good, and it's something that like I can't say I have a problem with. But you've noted, I know I'm not alone, there has been a noticeable diminishing of quality of the characters, and also in some ways a Flanderization of the characters that has just come out on screen. Charlie has gotten stupider. Mac has gotten gayer, and not that that's a problem in any which way. It's just they're pointing these characters into very strict terms. Dee is crazy. Dennis is a psychopath. Like they're pointing these characters in ways in these arcs that are just they're too strong, and they weren't what the show initially was, which the show initially was a character about just some goobers in a bar being degenerates, really. And then over time they've just Flanderized all of them and made all of their crazy elements really strong, like Frank being a little bit like a dementia patient, but also just like a wild card. They've just really accentuated those elements. And yeah, you could say that those things are good, but also in the same way, it just makes it feel immersion breaking when the original premise was very solid in foundation. It feels like they've taken a step back from that, and the writing has almost started to like insist upon itself that they have to write these characters that way. But I don't think that's what made the show special. And I feel like it's not going to get any better at this point, because they've gone so long now with following this mold. And I feel like they have to see somewhere that the show has diminished in quality because of that. It's also, there's also other elements here. It's not just the writing. You could even see it with the creative differences within the writer's room, for instance. If you've ever watched the It's Always Sunny podcast, or even like recently the Hot Ones episode where, Glenn Howerton, Rob McElhenney, and Charlie Day all like talked about the show and behind the scenes and all of that stuff. Even there, they were talking about how there's been moments where they all wanted to leave the show. But if you've watched the It's Always Sunny podcast, you know that happens frequently. And even on that show, they've gotten into arguments and things like that, especially if you've watched it while they were in production for season 16. To me, it's tragic that they've completely given up on the It's Always Sunny podcast, because I think that's the best thing that's came out of the It's Always Sunny IP in a long time, even over the show. But whatever, well, I'm just glad I got to the last live showing in Philly of that podcast before they permanently stopped. So whatever. Anyway, you could see that they have creative differences, and I think that reflects on screen now. I really genuinely do. Like, I feel like their differences are shining. They're getting older, and they're not as interested in the show as they used to be. It's really, to me, it really shows. And also, I know this is a little bit of a side note, but I have to point this out because I don't know if anyone else is talking about it. Rob McElhenney, for season 7, pitched that the mission statement of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia should be kind of like the anti-Friends, and he watched all of these shows go through these changes, all the actors in it go through these glow-ups over the seasons. So for season 7, Rob McElhenney put on 50 pounds just to kind of go in the complete opposite direction with the character and show a regression of your look instead of a progression. But now, Rob McElhenney is literally just Rob McElhenney. He's not even Mac anymore when you're watching him on screen. And Caitlin Olsen looks like any classic Hollywood celebrity because she's gone through so much plastic surgery, along with Rob. You could tell he has too, to the point where it's like, wasn't the whole point of the show to avoid that? But now you're doing that? I know, obviously, it's because Rob McElhenney has done really well for himself. He owns Wrexham, and he does other things like that. I totally understand that. He's really gone through a glow up and made a lot of money. Same with Caitlin Olsen and all of that stuff. But at this point, it's going so far against the mission statement of your show that it makes me not feel like I'm watching It's Always Sunny anymore. Like, how the hell am I supposed to believe that this is Mac? Like, because it's not. This is just, I'm watching Rob McElhenney now. And yeah, he still has his funny moments, but it just doesn't shine through the same because, yes, look, I know they've been on air for 20 years plus, really, if you think about it. So obviously, Rob McElhenney is not going to look like the Rob McElhenney of 2005. I totally get that, but that's not the problem. The problem is the glow up. The problem is like how plastic the glow up is, if that makes any sense. Not that I have a problem with them doing that, but it just goes against the mission of the show. You know what I mean? Especially as your creator, I feel like you'd point that out in some way. Whatever, regardless, that's a very small detail. But what isn't a small detail is that actors like Danny DeVito are like 90 years old now at this point. And yes, he still has it and he's still funny, which is great. But at some point, it's one of those things where, you know, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Not that I think It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is bad anymore, or bad in general, because I certainly don't think that's the case. It's just slowly going downhill, and I hate to watch that happen when the show is just... I want to remember it for all the good it has, but it's hard for me to ignore where the show has been going. And I'm only talking about this because I'm such a big fan of the show. I feel like it's time for it to be put to bed. Not because I want to see it end, because like I don't like it anymore, but because I think it's time. And I think the actors in the show feel like it's time too, but I think they're contractually obligated to do, I think, season 19 to 20. I think that's when their contract is up for the show, and it wouldn't surprise me if when that time comes that they end it. Or maybe they break the contract and end it sooner, because you know they all kind of want it. So, I don't know. These are my thoughts. I think it's time, but definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you think it's absolute bullshit or it's absolutely derivative, let me know. And with all that out of the way, until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.